This course is Introduction to Philippine Criminal Justice System.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you already know me. This lesson is part of your prelims topics. I hope you are still good. So, let us start.
We are in Module 3, Philippine Criminal Justice System Pillars. To start with, we have our Lesson 1, the prime movers of the PCJS, Law Enforcement. In this lesson, you will determine the different law enforcement in the country as well as how does the police service evolve over time. In addition, you will understand more the role of the law enforcement by determining their part in the criminal justice system in the country. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to summarize the development of the police service in the Philippines and identify the role of the law enforcement in the Philippine criminal justice system. In all our lessons, I have some few reminders. First, you need to stay focused. Listen to the lesson and understand what is the lecture all about. The second reminder is you need to have your pen, paper, and module ready. Because one of the most effective ways in order to grasp knowledge is to take down notes. I am not telling you to write it all down, but you need to focus on the main idea, as well as it will serve as an aid in reviewing your lessons. And the third reminder is, if you have any questions, you can post it in our group or in our educational platform. These are all the contents of the presentation. It has the lesson, learning objectives, the discussion, learning activity, learning assessment, and learning sources.
Are you ready? By clicking the button, let's start. The police or law enforcement stand the forefront of the criminal justice system. Law enforcement is deterrent and preventive activity. It consists of patrolling to supervise conduct, investigating to identify offenders, and or recover stolen or missing property, warning or arresting those who are probably guilty of criminal behavior, and assisting in the prosecution and trial of an offender. Its goals are aimed towards the prevention of the crime and disorder, preservation of peace, and the protection of life, properties, and individual freedom. A large number of government agencies are involved in law enforcement, and one way or another, the kind of degree of involvement vary from general to specific law enforcement to enforcing standards and regulation pertaining to regular government activities. So in the Philippines, the law enforcement function is spearheaded by the Philippine National Police under the Department of Interior and Local Government and the National Bureau of Investigation under the Department of Justice. In addition to these government offices, there are other agencies tasked with enforcing special laws. Among these are the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force, Bureau of Internal Revenue, Land Transportation Office, Bureau of Customs, Bureau of Immigration, Economic and Intelligence and Investigation Bureau, Food and Drug Administration, Philippine Coast Guard, Marine Industry Authority, Bureau of Forest Development, Department of Agriculture, or the BFOR, we have the PPI and etc. We have also the Air Transportation Office, the National Telecommunications Commission, the Bureau of Product Standards.
An additional video is posted in your learning management system to explain the development of police service in the Philippines.
So here's a quick review. So it primitively evolved from the practice of different tribes to select able-bodied young men to protect their villagers not from the assault of criminals, but from the depredations of wild animals which prey their crops and livestock during nighttime. So basically, ang police na napanood niya sa video ay nag-start na sa Philippines mismo. Pero originally, the police started as not being as a police officer na nag-prevent ng crime, pero sila yung taga-banday sa mga villagers. Lalo na kapag gabi na merong umaatake sa kanilang mga wild animals or sa mga pananim nila. So, doon nag-umpisa yung police. So, these young men who walk around their villages during the night to render protection need not to work in the fields during the day. The village council agreed that they were given equal share of the harvest for the families. Historically, this is the forerunner of the contemporary patrol of the police for crime prevention. So in the Philippines, Guardia Civil in Las Filipinas in Spanish translated to the Civil Guard in the Philippines. Majority of the Guardia Civil were composed of Filipinos, and they were approximately 60% of the total force. It was disbanded after the Spanish-American War. So after the Philippine-American War, it was eventually replaced by the American colonial government with the Philippine Constabulary. For several decades prior to 1991, the primary peace and order arm of the national government was an organization known as the Philippine Constabulary. So the Integrated National Police, on the other hand, was the municipal police force for the cities and large towns of the Republic of the Philippines. The Philippine Constabulary is still there, but in different organizations. So when President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law on September 21, 1972, he placed the entire country under an authoritarian military rule. He reorganized the national police by merging the PC and the local police forces into the Philippine Constabulary Integrated National Police or the PCINP. So pinag-combine niya yun. They serve as the country's national police force. So in December 1990, 4 years after the 1986 EDSA Revolution, Republic Act number 6975 was passed, establishing the Philippine National Police under a reorganized Department of the Interior and Local Government. It is commonly known as the DILG Act of 1990, and the Philippine National Police was organized. Now, here are the roles of the police or the law enforcement in the criminal justice system. Let us discuss it one by one. The law enforcement consists of the officers and men of the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, and other agencies. So when they learn of the commission of crimes or discover them, it is now called as initial contact. The initial contact with the criminal justice system takes place as a result of police actions. So for example, police assigned on patrol observe a person actually committing a crime, or police was contacted by a victim who reports a crime. Then the police respond by going to the scene of the crime to investigate. The second step is to investigate. The purpose of the investigatory stage is to gather sufficient evidence to identify the suspect and support a legal arrest, investigate the crime, which may take the form of surveillance and observation of suspects, other persons, and premises, interviewing persons with knowledge of facts directly or indirectly connected with the offense, taking photographs, arranging for entrapment, searching premises and persons subject to constitutional and statutory safeguards, and examining public and other available records pertaining to the persons involved, and getting copies of pertinent entries. The police officers, in other words, collect evidence for use in the prosecution of the suspects in the court. This may consist of the testimony of witnesses, including invited suspects, which are invariably taken down in question and answer form, writings and objects, and other weapons used in the commission of other crime or of the crime, clothing of the victim, and etc. When sufficient evidences were gathered, arrest may take place. Arrest means the taking of a person into custody in accordance with lawful order and holding the person to answer for a violation of the criminal law. The law enforcement will arrest suspects by virtue of a warrant of arrest issued by a judge on the basis of evidence submitted by them or under circumstances justifying a warrantless arrest. The instances when an arrest without warrant may be lawfully effected by a peace officer or a private person are as follows. when in his presence, the person to be arrested has committed, is actually committing, or is attempting to commit an offense. When an offense has in fact just been committed, and he has personal knowledge of facts indicating that the person to be arrested has committed it, and when the person to be arrested is a prisoner who has escaped from a penal establishment or place where he is serving final judgment or temporarily confined while his case is pending, or has escaped while being transferred from one confinement to another. The moment after an arrest is made, the detained suspect is considered under police custody and is now restricted of his freedom of movement. The police may wish to search the suspect for weapon or contraband. Any person who, while in custody or otherwise deprived of liberty, is under investigation for the commission of an offense and has the following constitutional rights, among others. He must be informed of his right to remain silent, and to have competent and independent counsel, preferably of his own choice. If the person cannot afford the services of counsel, he must be provided with one. These rights cannot be waived except in writing and in the presence of a counsel. No torture, force, violence, threat, intimidation, or any other means which vitiate the free will shall be used against him. Secret detention places, solitary, incommunicado, or other similar forms of detention are prohibited, and any confession or admission obtained in violation of the foregoing shall be inadmissible in evidence against him. Note: in every stage of these processes, the police is mandated by law to appraise the person or suspect of his constitutional rights. Otherwise, the failure, it might be intentional or unintentional, the failure of the police will be held criminally liable for non-compliance thereof. If the arresting officer or his superior believes that sufficient evidence exists, charging will take place. The person is charged with specific crime for which he had been arrested. After the formal investigation has been completed, the police has to refer the investigation report to the prosecutor's office, including the evidences such as physical or documentary proof, and the suspect if he is in custody. So, the police will refer the case and suspects to the office of the public prosecutor or municipal trial court for preliminary investigation, or directly to the municipal trial court for trial and judgment. The third role of the police is the court appearance or court duty. So the police or the investigator or the arresting officer, when summoned by the court, must appear in court to stand as witness for the prosecution.
And that is the end of our discussion. Let's proceed to the learning activity. Your assignment will serve as your learning activity. Your assignment for this lesson is posted in your learning management system. Your learning assessment is the quiz posted in your learning management system. For the references used in the lesson, these are my sources. For the graphics or pictures used in this presentation, these are the internet sources.